There are going to be a few bad apples that do some looting. But my position is you can always replace a window, you can replace things, but you can't replace human lives. So as long as no lives get lost, and if any lives are lost, it's probably going to be at the hands of the police officers, and then that would just cause more problems.
It is attitudes like that which have every member of local law enforcement in Ferguson, Missouri on a razor's edge at the moment. A seemingly cavalier concept of a riot being necessary if the local grand jury does not return the verdict many demand in the shooting of Michael Brown. An aura being driven by more than a few inaccuracies and misconceptions. Welcome to MidPoint. She is a contributing editor of City Journal, a quarterly magazine focusing on urban affairs, also a Thomas Smith Fellow at the Manhattan Institute. Heather McDonald joins us. Heather, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me on it.
Heather, when you hear something like that soundbite we heard coming in here, a woman who identifies herself as a resident and also a potential rioter, if you will, basically saying that don't worry about it. It's okay if we go back to rioting and it happens again. And she immediately places the blame on the police. This is a dangerous powder keg.
It's absolutely appalling. And I would say Al Sharpton is walking around vaunting his relationship with President Obama. Anybody out there who wants to pretend they're a civil rights leader should be out in Ferguson today saying, do not riot. This is not, a prerogative of black people, and it is as much a violation of the civil rights of people who have lost property, businesses who are absolutely struggling to survive now because they're under such siege, and yet the civil rights leaders in this country are absolutely silent and are in fact provoking people with the assumption that a conviction or an indictment is the only possible just resolution for the grand jury, when in fact, as we know, the evidence strongly suggests that the shooting was provoked.
Heather, let me ask you this. Why then, in your opinion, are these civil rights leaders not there? Is it perhaps because, and I'm just going to speculate, that they want something to happen, that they need the TV cameras there to see something dangerous happen again, that it helps them financially?
Well, it certainly seems to be the trump card that American society continues to confer on blacks, that somehow there's a sense of entitlement that has extended from the period of the 60s, that blacks get to riot when they're unhappy with something, and that's a powerful power that they've got. And I guess so-called civil rights leaders of today, who I think have utterly betrayed the legacy of Martin Luther King, have an interest in having that as sort of the secret weapon.
Heather, you realize, of course, that making a statement such as that, people will probably say, you're racist. How would you react?
I would react that there are many, many blacks in this country who respect the law, who are appalled by criminality of any race. They are not heard from. But there is a small segment of the black population, and then other populations as well, who have imbued a very poisonous ideology. We're not worried about police riots if Darren Wilson, the officer, is indicted. We're not worried about white riots. But somehow the entire society has been complicit in somehow whitewashing the appalling expectation here, calling it unrest. No, it's outright violence and looting. And as you said in the beginning, Ed, there is nothing more terrifying than the breakdown of civil order, because human beings live on a powder keg of irrationality, all human beings. And when respect for the rule of law and other people breaks down, that can be a fuse that is very hard to squelch.
Very strong words. I want to remind everybody, unfortunately, we're out of time, but I do want to tell them to look for your article from City Journal. It was entitled Ferguson's Unmasked Questions, or Unasked Questions, I should say, and it came out in October of this year, and there are still a number of questions in there that need to be answered. I have this terrible feeling that we may get some answers here in the next few days. Heather, thank you so much for your time. I'm sure we'll speak again.
Thank you, Ed.
After a short break, syndicated radio talker Jerry Doyle weighs in on executive action and the actions of a rapper who was supposedly there to pay tribute to American military veterans. And at 51 minutes after the hour, Outland reveals again why we often fear for the future.